one day things just flipped and she just turned into Satan. I don't know what happened. Hey boos, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today, I'm spilling a little tea. That's why I have my cup of tea right here. So grab your cup of tea, your water, your wine, your coffee, whatever your drink of choice is, and let's get into it. Come sit down, let's talk about it. Today we're talking about bosses from hell. And I feel like this is something that not a lot of people talk about because one, I think there's just kind of that fear because if you're currently working for a boss from hell, obviously you don't necessarily want that to get back to them. You don't want to get fired, you don't want to get reprimanded, so I get it. But I also feel like there's a lot of fear around speaking out against people in positions of power. In general, people don't like to speak out or kind of go against the grain when it comes to people who are in positions of power. But in this situation, I don't work for these people anymore, so I don't care. And if anything ever got back to them, honestly, it would probably help them out because I think they need to know how they treat their employees and it might help them keep their business open. So, also just a little disclaimer, none of the things that I'm about to say have anything to do with my current job. I absolutely love my job. I'm still fairly new, so I'm still getting acquainted with everything, but I really love my bosses. I love the staff, my coworkers. Everything's been great. So everything that I'm about to say has nothing to do with my current job. So that's just a brief disclaimer. Let's talk about boss number one. Boss number one from hell. This was a few years ago. The reason she was the boss from hell was because I never worked for someone who was just so blatantly rude for no reason. So I was working for this company, and when I first got hired, she was super nice. She was my direct supervisor, my direct manager. So when I first got hired, she was super nice. She was the one who was in charge of doing my schedule. She was so sweet, very accommodating, welcoming. She was showing me the ropes. Everything was all good. Then maybe this is a few months later, I had called in sick to work one day because I woke up and I was having a full-blown anxiety attack. And I was just I feel sick, I can't do it. And at the time I was staying with my boyfriend, and he was like, you need to just take a break, because when I got hired here, it was around the holidays, so things were crazy, it was busy, and back then my anxiety was pretty bad, and I had anxiety attacks pretty frequently. So anyway, it was just a morning where I woke up and I was having an anxiety attack, and I was just I can't go to work. So I called, let them know the situation, and I called out for the day. When I went back to work the next day or whatever my next shift was, my manager literally ignored me. She didn't say good morning, she didn't look at me, she didn't say anything. She literally started communicating with me through email. And I was like, what is your problem? What did I do? Did something happen? Did I mess something up on my last shift? What's the tea? Because I don't understand why you're literally just ignoring me and you're not talking to me, and I don't understand. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna take it. I'm assuming she's mad at me because I called out. I'm sorry that I didn't feel good, but is that really why you're upset? So honestly, to this day, it's not like she ever came to me and told me why. She just started ignoring me, but that's literally just how it was for the rest of the time that I worked there. This is just speculation, but I think she was low-key racist because the way that she treated me and the other employees of color, as well as the other customers of color, was very different from how she treated the white staff and the white customers. It's just speculation. Just the observations I was making, I was like, yeah, I don't know. But anyway, I just noticed as I continued to work there, the way that she just treated the staff, it was just unacceptable. I remember I had a staff member come in just in full-blown tears because of how this manager had talked to her. And it's just as a manager, a supervisor, a boss, whatever your title is in the hierarchy of a job, it's unacceptable to treat your employees like that. There's no reason why you should have an employee coming into the office crying, or why an employee should be needing to take a walk outside because they're so frustrated or they're so upset. It's unacceptable. And we'll get into, more of that later on in the video. But yeah, with this manager, this this is how it was working with her. I don't know if she was maybe going through something in her personal life, because it literally just seemed like there was a flip. One day things just flipped and she just turned into Satan. I don't know what happened. The final straw for me was, I was just sick of the environment and just how things were when she was in the office. So I put in my 2 weeks. I wasn't quitting the company. I was just getting transferred back to a different location. And so I put in my 2 weeks because I was like, I'm over this. Everybody was over it. Morale was low. I was sick and tired of working with her and having to deal with her, honestly. And so on my last day working there, my other supervisor, he was like the big boss, I guess you can say. So he was over, let's call her Rebecca, this manager that I've been talking about. He was over Rebecca. Let's call him Pete, okay? So Pete calls me into his office and he was like, hey, I just wanted to meet with you. Rebecca was gonna meet with you, but she's out today, so she asked if I could. And I was like, okay, like what's going on? I didn't know what was happening because I normally wouldn't get called into his office, so I didn't know what was going on. So, and it was my last day, so I was like, what? He was like, yeah, so she let me know what was going on. Were you under the impression that you're getting a write-up today? And I was like, no, for what? Apparently there was a situation where you worked in retail or something like that. You know that at the end of the night, if you're closing, you have to like reconcile the cash and whatever. I guess there was a situation where the cash, there was a mix-up or there was a mistake or something. I know for a fact I didn't do anything wrong. I was like, you guys can check the cameras. I didn't steal anything. I didn't mess anything up. Everything's notated. You can run the cameras back and see. Like, there's cameras everywhere. Like, all through the office, you can see that I didn't do anything wrong. Rebecca was really trying to give me a write-up for something that I didn't do. First of all, you couldn't even do this yourself. You had Pete, the higher up, do it because you couldn't do your own dirty work. And you had him do it on my last day. Why would you try to give me a write-up on my last day? I'm not even working here anymore. Like, you're trash. So when he told me that, I said, I wasn't gonna say anything about Rebecca because I'm leaving and it just really doesn't matter. But let's have a conversation. And I just spilled everything. I told him everything about how she had been treating me, how she had been treating other staff members, how she had been ignoring me, just everything. I just let it all out. And he was shocked because he was like, I'm so sorry. Like, I feel bad that I didn't even know. And I wish that you would have felt more comfortable to tell me beforehand. And, that's my fault. Maybe I should have reiterated, that so that you would have felt more comfortable. So he was very receptive to the feedback and he felt really bad. And a few weeks after that, Rebecca didn't work there no more. I don't know if she got fired. I'm not saying she got fired, but I mean, it's very possible because I know that he had a discussion with her after I left and then she didn't work there anymore. So, So in that case, I think Pete was a great boss because he was listening. I think that he was, really taking my feedback and my feelings into account because that's what bosses do. That's what good bosses do. You have to take constructive criticism and you also have to take the things that your employees are saying seriously. Let's get into another boss from hell. I don't even know where to begin with this one. We're gonna call her Kate. Let's go with that. Same thing. When I first started working for Kate, everything was great. Like, she was very sweet, very nice. When I first got hired, she was very big on like positivity, optimism, good energy, all of that. I was like, oh, this is perfect. This sounds like where I need to be. I'm all about positivity and, having a good work environment. Like, this sounds great. Okay, cool. Things were good for the first like few weeks. And then, after the honeymoon stage of working, you really get to know your bosses and your coworkers and stuff. And after the first few weeks, things just really started to take a turn. The first thing that I really can't stand with bosses and management is I don't like to be micromanaged. This is not to sound arrogant or anything, but I know the type of employee that I am and I'm on it. I don't like to have to get told to do things multiple times. If I know what my job duties are, I'm gonna do them. If they haven't gotten done, it's because I was doing something else or, something else came up as far as priorities. But I know I'm not a slacker. I know that I do my job and I do it well. And I always put my best foot forward when it comes to my jobs. That's just the type of employee that I am. So I don't need to be micromanaged. And I don't feel like employees Being micromanaged helps, because when you micromanage people, it just irritates them. Honestly, you're just kind of getting in the way of them working, and nobody wants to be hovered over. Let people do their job and leave them alone. Now, I could see if, let's say there was a deadline for something and you just have not seen your employee do it or work on it, and the deadline is like tomorrow, then yeah, you might want to follow up with them and be like, hey, Sally, that project is due tomorrow. Like, have you started? You give me like the status of it, like something like that. But if you know your employees are actively doing their jobs, why are you hovering over them and like micromanaging? It's just so annoying. So she started doing that really bad. And I'm just like, ma'am, I got it. Like, everything is under control. I don't know if maybe you just have too much time on your hands and you don't have enough to do, but we're good over here. Like, we're getting work done. You actually, jabbering about what needs to get done is actually taking away from me doing what I need to do. So, The other major thing for me, and this was when I really just was like, yeah, I need to get a new job. Well, two main reasons, but this is one, was there was zero appreciation and zero acknowledgement for any of the staff's work. We worked hard, and we were a small staff, so that meant we wore a lot of hats. We had a lot of things to do on a daily basis, and we were constantly busy because we just didn't have a lot of woman power, to get everything done. So we had to do a lot, and our days were packed. We never heard thank you. We never heard, I appreciate all of your hard work. Thank you for nothing. There was just never any acknowledgement. There was never any sense of gratitude for us doing so much that we did. We were literally running this business, completely running this business, and we never heard thank you. There was never, please. There was just never any like type of manners or gratitude. You just always felt like, there's no other way to put it. Like, that's just how she always made us feel. And you get to a point where you're like, I know I'm here to do a job and I want to do that job well, but it would be nice to just hear every once in a while, you know what, Jayla, you really have been working your butt off. I really appreciate you. I know that things have been kind of tough. I know things have been busy. I know you had to work on Christmas Eve. I know, X, Y, and Z, but I just want to say thank you. Thank you goes a long way. I'm not asking for like $1,000 bonus on my check. I'm just some acknowledgement that you are recognizing that I'm doing a good job and that I'm breaking my back for you and your business. We never got any of that. And on top of that, the pay and the lack of benefits. Let's get into that really quick. I need bosses out there and corporations out there to realize you cannot pay your employees pennies and give them no benefits and expect them to work for you long term. It's never gonna work. I don't know, what you might need to reconfigure, but you need to pay your employees what they're worth. I took a pay cut when I accepted this job with Kate. The job I had before was paying me more than what I got when I was working for Kate. And I knew that when I got hired, I was willing to accept that because I was like, well, I really want to be in this field. And I think that having this job, I'll learn a lot and it'll help me accelerate later on. And it did. I will say that job, it was a great stepping stone. But the pay cut that I took was not worth all of the BS that I had to deal with, honestly. We had no benefits, no health insurance, dental insurance, vision, none of that. We had none of that. I had to actually take a second job because one, I just needed more money because working for Kate, I wasn't making anything really. Two, I needed health insurance. I had just turned 26, so I was getting kicked off of my parents. So I needed health insurance. So I took a second job so I could get supplemental income and health insurance. It just made no sense. I was like, you can't have it both ways. You can't treat us like dirt, but then also give us nothing. Like, you're paying us pennies and we can't even get health insurance and you want to treat us like this? Yeah, I'm out. Those were the two really huge factors that made me start looking for other jobs and just make that decision to leave. For me, when I'm at a job and I start feeling unappreciated, or I start feeling like my pay is not equaling all the work that I'm doing, I'm leaving. Let me tell you something. These jobs, for the most part, they don't care about you. These corporations, these companies, these bosses, you're just another employee. If you leave, they have to hire somebody else. I just really want people out there to recognize and know your worth. Like I said, I know the type of employee that I am. If you lose me as an employee, you're not gonna find a duplicate. That's just a fact. I may be tooting my own horn, but I know the type of employee that I am, and I know that when I leave a place, I miss because I work a certain way and I'm efficient in a certain way that I know a lot of people aren't. That's just a fact. I want you as an employee, if you're watching this, to view yourself like that. Know the traits and the qualities that you bring to a job. Know the different talents that you would be bringing to a job, a corporation, a business, a boss, whatever. You have to recognize that if your talents and what you're bringing isn't being appreciated or acknowledged or paid correctly, you need to leave. No job is worth the stress and the anxiety and all of that, because if you get fired or if you leave, you're gonna get replaced soon after. So don't do it. To all of my bosses out there, I understand being a boss, being a supervisor or manager, owning your own business, whatever the case may be, there's a lot of stress, there's a lot of responsibility, there's just a lot that comes with it. I recognize that. However, your employees and your staff are what make your business run. It's what makes your business go round. If all of your staff up and quit today, what happens to your business? What happens to you? I mean, you really have to think about these things. So when you have employees who aren't happy, morale is low, they're not benefiting in any way, they're anxious, they're stressed, they're sleep deprived, they're whatever, nobody wins. Because like I said, if they quit tomorrow and you have no staff, then what? All my bosses, please just recognize and acknowledge your employees' work. Please just, thank them. Be nice to them. It goes a long way. Acknowledgement and saying thank you and just being a nice person to your staff goes a long way. One thing I can tell you is that when morale is high, retention is better, and everything else will just fall into place. You'll start to see that, things will get done. Deadlines will be met. If you have a business that works with customers or, other people, the customers will be happy because your staff is happy. I mean, it's all a domino effect. And it's like, these are all things that I've observed in every job that I've had since I was 18 years old. And I know for a fact that if the staff is happy, everything else will run so smoothly and it'll be a win-win. But when the staff is not happy and morale is low, everything goes to hell. Bosses, just please remember that. And if you're an employee and you're currently working for a boss from hell, reevaluate your worth. And if it's really not working out, I would encourage you to find a new job, because there are jobs out there that will value you, they'll appreciate you, they'll pay you what you need to be paid for your talents and your work, and it'll just be an all-around better situation. That's it for my tales on bosses from hell. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have a boss from hell, or if you had a boss from hell and you want to tell your story, please comment down below. I would love to hear. Look out for new videos on Sundays, and please be sure to subscribe and share with a friend or a family member. We're growing. It's gradual, steady growth, We're almost at 100 subscribers, which I think is like, I don't know, that kind of had me shook. I was like, there's almost 100 people that clicked because they were interested. Like, I think that's pretty good. So thank you guys for subscribing and tuning in, and until next time, cheers.